Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the new upcoming character Dan Heng IL, the 5-star. I actually couldn't contain my excitement, so I had to make this pre-release video to discuss his incredible kit. As always, keep in mind that Dan Heng is still in beta, so his numbers may change before his official release, so take everything with a huge grain of salt. In this video, we're going to check his talent and abilities along with some recommendations for pre-farming and building him. By the end of this video, you will be well prepared to fully build him and construct his best teams to unlock his full DPS potential. So without further ado, let's get started.
Didn't wish to harm anyone.
Dan Heng in Bibarel Lunai is an imaginary 5-star destruction character. His basic attack is a 2-hit attack that deals imaginary damage to a single enemy target. The skill where things gets interesting, it enhances his basic attack into Transcendence, Divine Spear, or Fulgurant Leap. Each version you go with transforms his basic attack and requires skill points, where a certain type of stack you get from his ult will explain this later on. Pressing the skill once transform his basic attack into Transcendence, you consume 1 skill point to unleash a 3-hit attack and deals imaginary damage equal to 260% of Dan's attack. Using it twice transform it into Divine Spear and consume 2 skill points to unleash a 5-hit attack dealing imaginary damage equal to 380% of Dan's attack to a single enemy target. And from the 4th hit onward, it deals imaginary damage equal to 60% of Dan's attack to the adjacent targets. And if it's pressed 3 times, transform his basic attack into Fulgurant Leap to unleash a 7-hit attack dealing a massive imaginary damage equal to 500% of Dan's attack to a single enemy target, which is nearly on par with the damage multiplier of most other characters' ult. And from the 4th hit onward, simultaneously deals imaginary damage equal to 180% of Dan's attack to the adjacent targets. Just only from this you can see his motion values are crazy. And to put it in perspective, the best DPS in the game right now is Zilla, and her skill has 220 motion values at level 10. Basically, Dan's doing triple, almost quadruple her skill damage if you count the AoE portion of his attacks. Also, he has a higher base attack which makes him even more OP. The fun doesn't stop here. When unleashing a Divine Spear or Fulgurant Leap, he gains 1 stack of dominating roll before every hit starting from the 4th one. In each stack, increasing Dan's crit damage by 12% for a max of 4 stacks. These stacks last until the end of his turn, making his enhanced attack dealing even more damage. His ult is a powerful 3-hit attack dealing imaginary damage to a single enemy target and adjacent ones, while also guaranteeing him with the 2 stacks of Skauma Sacrosancta. Let's call them SS stacks for short. A max of 3 SS stacks can be possessed at any given time. Dan Heng can consume these stacks as a skill point to enhance his basic attack, so your priority should be to use his ult as quickly as possible to avoid wasting too many skill points and ensure a smoother rotations. For Dan's talent, it makes him gain 1 stack of Righteous Heart after each hit unleashed during an attack. It increases his damage by 10% up to 6 stacks and they last until the end of his turn. Take note, you can use both of these stacks buffs on your ult because it doesn't count as a turn for a bigger nukes. And after Dan uses his technique, he enters the Leaping Dragon state for 20 seconds, rapidly moving forward to attack enemies and blocking enemies' incoming attacks. He also deals imaginary damage to all the enemies and gain 1 SS stack after attacking an enemy in this state. As we explore his remarkable abilities, you will see his kit is simply amazing, and most of his special talents are self-boosting and self-support traces, like the one that makes his crit rate increase by 12% when dealing damage to enemies with imaginary weakness, and increases the chance to resist crowd control debuffs by a 35%. This one is really helpful in the higher MOC floors. Also, at the start of the battle, he immediately regenerates 15 energy, which helps him a lot to cast his ult faster. So for your DPS and especially for your Dan Heng, you shouldn't look out his talents, and I suggest to max him out. At least his basic attack, since it's cheap to max level it compared to the scale and talent. 610, 1010 is ideal, but you could just focus on his basic attacks first to max him out, then the ult just for utility and a bit of damage. Same go for talents and skills, so you can leave them at level 6 or 7, it's up to you. But for the sake of this video, I say you want to 6999 him. So to get him to level 75, you need around 308k currency, 207 purple XP books, 15 of the Immortal Aero Blossoms, 15 of the blue ones, 65 of Suppressant Edicts, a new Wood Boss bonus drops in 15 of the Immortal Illuminate. For his basic attacks, you need around 240k currency, 3 greens, 8 blues, and 11 purples of his race mats. For each of his talent, technique, and skill, and also for the ult, you need around 352k currency, 3 greens, 15 blues, and 16 purples of his race's mats. 2 of the Regret of Infinite you get it from the Echo of War, and 1 of Track of Destiny. So in total you need this. Feel free to pause the video and take your time looking at it, or come back to it whenever you like. His Eidolons are also really good. E1 increases the number of stackable riches Heart by 4, and he will gain 1 stack for each hit per attack. Remember, each stack increases his damage by 10%, and E1 makes his enhanced attack deals even more damage, and all of his hits get buffed. E2 is really good as well. After using his ultimate, Dan's action is advanced forward by 100%, and he gained 1 extra SS stack. So basically, your rotation will be something like this. You use your Fulgurant Leap, the 3rd version of his enhanced basics, do a massive damage, then use your old dealing damage again, while also making use of his Righteous Heart and the Dominating Roll stacks. And it also advances him forward, and you get another free enhanced basic attack, making it super efficient to use his max version of his enhanced basic attacks, even with some skill point hungry teams. E4 makes the buffs provided by Dominating Roll persist until the end of Dan's next turn. With E6, after any other teammate uses their ultimate, the imaginary resistant pain of Dan's next Fulgurant Leap attack increases by 20% up to 3 stacks. Dan has some really high motion values in some of the best self-boosting traces. He gets 24% crit rate just from his kit, and an insane crit damage boost up to a 48% for his enhanced attacks, which most of his damage comes from. So it makes him really easy to build in the free-to-play friendly. When it comes to building him, prioritize a crit rate or a crit damage test piece. It depends on your stats, and use the one that gets you close to the golden ratio. Speed boost because you want him to go as fast as possible and to charge his ult quickly. I recommend to reach around the 126 speed so you don't sacrifice the offensive stats. Or attack percentage 1 because we all know speed boosts are a myth. Imaginary damage sphere is essential. As for the link, if you're running him with Jingyeon, an attack percentage leak is a good option. Otherwise, go with an energy recharge for a faster ult spam to gain the SS stack as quickly as possible, or he will be a skill point vacuum. For the subs, obviously a speed just to get you over 126 speed without compromising on the offensive stats over attack percentage. The effect resistance is also good because you don't want your DPS to get CC'd every time, and the defense for the added sustain, and because he's a dissection character he will be attacked a lot. So getting some defense in the effect resistance is alright. And lastly, the HP percentage. And for the stats, Wastelanders state is a really good set to farm for imaginary characters. The 2-piece gives you an increased imaginary damage by 10%, and with the 4-piece, when attacking a debuffed enemy, Dan's crit rate increases by 10% and his crit damage increases by 20% against imprisoned enemies. And Dan will make full use of this set because he will be breaking shields a lot. Just his Fulgurant Leap has a 120 unit of weakness break on a single target and a 60 to adjacent ones. He will be Imprisoned Machine, and this set will be even better if you run an mono imaginary team. Or a Musketeer set to increases his attack by 12% with the 2-piece, and the 4-piece increases Dan's speed by 6% and basic attacks increases by 10%. Or you can run a 2-piece Wastelander with a 2-piece Musketeer. The 4-piece of Hunter of Glacier Forest is also good on him too. After Dan uses his ultimate, his crit damage increases by 25% for 2 turns. The 4-piece of Langevus Disciple is also good on him because he's a destruction character. He will be attacked a lot, and when his hit or his HP is consumed by an ally or by himself, his crit rate is increases by 8% for 2 turns and up to 2 stacks. Paired with the Resilient Arena to increases Dan's crit rate by 8%, and when Dan's current crit rate reaches 70 or higher, his basic attack and skill damage increases by 20%. Since Dan's gets 24% crit rate from his kit alone, plus his light cone, you can easily reach 70%. Or you can use the Space Sealing Station. The 2-piece increases Dan's attack by 12%, and when his speed reaches 120 or higher, his attack increases by an extra 12%. Or you can use Celestial just for the crit damage increase by 16%, and if you're really struggling with the energy recharge, Von Wak, it helps him increases his energy regeneration by a 5%. When it comes to light cones, his best in slot obviously is Brighter Than the Sun. I really like this weapon a lot. This light cone is an absolute must have for Dan Hake in my opinion. It significantly boosts his crit rate by 18%, making his attack do even more damage. Moreover, with each basic attack, he gains 1 stack of Dragon Skull for 2 turns in up to 2 stacks. These stacks amplify his attack by a 12% and supercharge his energy regeneration rate by a 7%. If you aiming to take Dan Heng to the next level, pulling for this Litecoin, especially if you want to unlock his E1 or E2, I highly recommend it. However, I understand that not everyone may have the means to raffle this particular weapon, especially if you pulled Luocha for him or planning to save him for a future character. The Herta Shop Litecoin is another solid option for Dan. Whenever Dan Heng attacks, his attack receives an 8% increase, stacking up to 4 times. Additionally, when he inflicts a weakness break on enemies, his damage also increased by 12% for 2 turns, and this is only at S1. This Litecoin is easily obtainable at S5 to get the 64% attack and the 24% increased damage. This Litecoin synergizes perfectly with Dan's Heng kit and is an excellent option for maximizing his damage output. Clara's LC also got in him, which elevates his attack by 24%, and when he defeats an enemy or when he is hit, he instantly restores HP and receives a 24% damage boost until the end of his next turn. And for the 4 stars, most of them only boost his attack, which isn't that bad for him actually, but the best one are. Secret Vow is one of my personal favorites in this game. I know it might be super biased here, but the 20% increased damage dealt by Dan, and this gets even better at S5, is not that bad actually on him. Moreover, this weapon enables him to deal extra damage to enemies with a current HP percentage equal or higher than his own HP. This effect probably won't happen a lot since you will run him with the healer anyway, but for a 4-star Litecoin, this is not actually that bad. Nowhere to Run is a reliable option as well. This Litecoin increases his attack by 24%, and every time he defeats an enemy, he restores HP equal to 12% of his own attack, and if you don't have a healer, this Litecoin comes to the rescue, ensuring he can sustain himself during the battles and stay in the fight for longer. Under the Blue Sky, boosting Dan's attack by 16%, it also guarantees him with a 12% crit rate increase for 3 turns whenever he defeats an enemy. Ideal for AoE fights or battle with multiple adds summoned by bosses. This Litecoin truly shines in certain situations, offering a unique edge in the right scenarios, but if not, you will be better using one of the other mentioned weapons instead. Dan Heng is undoubtedly one of the best DPS characters in this game right now. Up to this point of recording this video, his self-sufficiency and the unique ability to buff and support himself set him apart from the others. So let's check some team composition to maximize his full DPS potential. Tingyon proves to be Dan's ultimate partner. With her support, Dan's attack receives a substantial boost, and she ensures he has a constant supply of energy to spam his ultimate and gain those valuable SS stacks. This synergy allows you to run an attack percentage link on Dan instead of an energy recharge one, which is really hard to get a good one, and further enhancing his damage output. Bronya is a great choice also, with her skill buffs and extra turns to Dan Heng. Additionally, her ult guarantees him with the critical damage boost, greatly amplifying his already devastating attacks. If you pair them together, ensure to equip Dan with an energy recharge link for optimal results. However, keep in mind that Bronya could be better utilized in other separate team instead. In this case, Tingyon is the better option. Bella, known for her top-notch AoE defense down, synergizes exceptionally well with Dan Heng's DPS capabilities. Her debuffing abilities significantly amplifying the damage Dan inflicts on enemies, making her a valuable choice. And for focused single target encounters, Silverwolf is the way to go. Her precise defense down with more damage compared to Bella, and she also can inflict imaginary weakness on enemies and also reducing enemy damage resistance, making her an outstanding addition to Dan's Heng teams. Moreover, her skill point positive nature complement Dan's kit, making her a highly valuable pick. Yukong's buff is no joke. She significantly enhanced the imaginary damage dealt by all allies, benefiting Dan Heng and the entire team with her crit rate and crit damage boost as well, but only if you can deal with her absurd speed tuning issues because of the very limited duration of her buffs. But if you can pass her issues and make it work somehow, he will be unstoppable and she's unmatched. And for the last slot, any preservation character will be good, but preferably a skill point positive one for easier skill point management to keep the damage flowing without any interruptions, and for that, Gepard is one of the best to use with him. But this team contains too many squishy characters, you're forced to run a healer. Luocha stands as an exceptional healer option for Dan Heng's team, offering a powerful passive healing, debuff removal, and the ability to dispel enemies' buffs, and other healers don't come close to his output healing when he's built correctly. He really stands out as Dan ideal companion. He also helps with weakness break on the enemies, so Dan can get the crit rate boost from his talent. Bailu is another powerful healer choice for Dan Heng. Her emergency healing and her revive ability are a game changer during the intense battles. Moreover, her 10% damage reduction helps mitigate the damage from bosses' devastating attacks, further boosting Dan's and the whole team's survivability. ability. Also, Natasha's swift healing and the cleansing abilities are useful for him, but those she might require more skill points, and she's a really skill point hungry character, but if you don't have access to Luocha or Bailu, she's not that bad. In summary, Dan Heng is an amazing damage dealer, one of the best in the game. He outperforms even the top contenders like Zilla thanks to his powerful attacks and the ability to support and buff himself. It makes him easy to build and free to play friendly character. Keep in mind though, this is based on the beta version and there's a chance he might get a bit weaker in the future, maybe around 10 to 15%, but even if that's happened, Dan Heng is still an incredible character that will make the whole community happy. I would almost say he's a must pull even for F2P players, because for one, we don't have any imaginary DPS character, and in the future we won't get any imaginary DPS character that can surpass him, and he also really super easy to build and free to play friendly. The only problem I can see now, he won't be usable for auto battle players. I need to do more calculations since his hit gets boosted separately, but all I can say, whether you're a long time fan or new to the game, Dan Heng's power will definitely impress you and amaze you. So yeah, you should definitely save for him. That's it for now guys. If you enjoyed this pre-release analysis and kit explanation, please leave a like and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Bye!